Welcome to the Outriders Chatterpoint podcast, your source for the latest news and information about Star Wars Shatterpoint, with your hosts Matt, Dan, John, and Jeff. And now, the Outriders. This is the way.
Hello and welcome everybody to episode 3 of the Outriders Chatterpoint podcast. I am Outrider Matt, and today we have with us
Outrider Dan.
And John, back from the dead.
Yay! Well, it's only the third episode, but still, so you're 66% average there. That's fine. But anyway, on today's show, we've got, Shatterpoint is out.
It is.
People have been getting games. Not me, mind you, but you guys definitely. I'm actually very excited to I found an opponent we're going to go play this week. Yay. Very excited.
Hey, that's the beginning of a community there. It starts with 2 people, huh?
Literally what's going to be happening. But anyways, how are you guys doing? How's everybody?
Been great. We had our first event since the release of the game this past weekend at Power 9.
Cool.
Went really well. I think we had about 8 people turned up to actually play a game. A couple spectators came by just to kind of watch. It was a great time. I think it was... For some of us, it was the first time we actually got to run through all 3 struggles together. I think for me, it was the 8th game I've played.
Okay.
So
yeah, Dan was saying on the last episode that you guys were doing demos and playing through one struggle and then swapping with somebody else so they can kind of get the basic mechanics down. But this is the first time you guys were sitting down and playing complete games, right?
I'd played a couple complete games, but
sure, because you had the demo kit, but for most people, yeah, but it was a great opportunity for us to, like you said, swap some people who were kind of new and maybe didn't want to go through the whole process of setup, but if they come in and play one struggle just to kind of get the feel of the mechanics, it worked out.
It was my first time going through a complete 3 struggle game, other than the demos that we had done before. I learned a lot. Made quite a few mistakes as well. So,
Nice. But it sounds like you guys have got a good start to people showing up for events. Have you already lined up like a casual play, a tournament, anything like that going up?
Actually,
we've actually got a league starting up. I think next month.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm just hoping that we'll talk about these guys a little later, but the new release is coming out next month.
Yes, we'll definitely be going over all
looking
those.
forward to using those.
Yeah, I love the pace that they've got the releases lined up right now. It's going to really help to let people expand on what they've got that initially released,
Okay, cool. So I got to know, we'll start with Dan. What's your favorite character team? What have you been playing?
Well, as my... and I did talk about this a little bit on the Legion Outriders. My status of building my stuff, I am all primed, but not entirely painted. So I only brought one strike team with me. It was Ahsoka and Obi-wan with Cody and Rex and the 212th and the 501st. So it was a clone ball.
But your stuff looked good, though. I will tell you, for just getting started painting it, it looks pretty good.
Well, for what I did have painted, it was just Obi and Ahsoka and half of Rex right now. So,
okay, did you have enough hunker tokens?
I ran pretty low because on our second game, I was playing Outsider Dan.
Oh, okay.
We'll have to get on the cast here sometime.
Yeah,
soon.
we'll probably grab him soon.
Yeah, where he had literally picked up his core set that day. Because he had been busy with his own, he does marathons and other events, so he was busy with other events, and literally had not built anything. So he was actually using the store's demo copy.
He was using my copy.
Yeah,
that's very on brand for Outsider Dan is to
borrow models.
Yeah,
took him how long to buy a second friggin' land speeder for Legion, but anyway.
After how many times he ran it in the list, I don't know. Crazy pants.
I think that was my land speeder, and I think it was just he's used it way more than I have.
It's 100% accurate. I will guarantee it. Okay, John, who have you been playing the most, and what do you think you like the most so far?
So I've gotten a chance to actually use everybody. I've played with and against all of the characters that have been released so far.
Oh, good. Right on.
To be honest with you, I can't tell you which one is best. So that's a good sign, I think.
I think that is a good sign, yes.
I just, for the first time, played with Obi-Wan this weekend. I was using the Obi-Wan Anakin list with all the clones. And there's some real synergy there. Obviously, hunker tokens are, everybody gets a hunker token. So that's a really great mechanic to use. And of course, with the rules update that we saw, it really goes a long way. With Cody being able to give rerolls to characters with hunker tokens within range 4, getting him up on an elevated position with close range to the supporting clones really makes a huge difference. I really like him. Anakin plays my play style because he's very aggressive. He
push it forward, get aggressive. Yeah,
exactly. Hits like a truck. He can take some wounds. He doesn't quite bring as many supporting points, but he's having the 4 force points is huge. I really liked him. Playing with Dooku though, wow, Dooku's good. He's very good. The synergy that the droids all bring together. I haven't had a chance to do a all Mandalorian list, which I kind of want to try that out because I've heard that's got some really good synergy. But just playing with Maul and the Mandalorians separately, and then doing the Ahsoka and Clan Ren, fantastic, or Clan Kryze, sorry. They're a lot of fun to play. If I had to give it to like one character I really love so far,
bring it.
Obi-Wan.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And I didn't think I'd hear myself say that,
but here we are listening to it.
Man, having Hello There and having a 10 dice attack like that, with the extra movement and then obviously the hunker tokens, he's a beast.
I did pull off a Hello There in my first game, where I was already in position, so I just did the force to the Hello There, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to focus as well. It swung with 11 dice. I didn't need the focus because I completed my tree without even that extra dice.
Nice.
But yeah, I think Obi-Wan is of the launch wave stuff. I think Obi-Wan is a clear contender for one of the strongest. And a lot of consensus I've been reading online is also Dooku. Yeah. So a lot of good power in those expansion boxes.
All the awesome facial hair guys. Okay, got it.
Of course.
Well, and with Dooku getting that change to be able to modify his dice after, or spend the force points after the rolls have been already made, I think that makes a huge difference.
Nice. Yeah, I've got a Grievous and a Obi-Wan coming my way in the mail. So, trying to order through the store. So we're waiting to hear back whether you can actually get them or not, since they weren't able to get the initial starter kit. I was like, well, it's out now. Should be able to order through them, but we'll figure that out soon.
Well, if Grievous does make it any sooner than his delayed date. But
yeah, I know it's going to be a little bit, but I'm so excited for my cyborg boy. But even though down the line, got plenty of other characters to start learning, like John's doing, and getting some table time on them. Speaking of tables, how many tables do you guys have set up for the event?
We had 3 going concurrently at the same time. One of them was the store terrain out of the demo kit. So basically the core box terrain. One was your Ewok village, John. And then I had brought my Star Tours table because I figured we needed more terrain, and set up just a little 3x3, basically a Legion skirmish table.
Most importantly, we didn't have to tap into 40k stuff, so we didn't have any Aquillas or gratuitous skulls anywhere.
Hey,
we have plenty of Legion terrain at the store, so we could have dipped into that if we needed, but we really didn't. So
it gets to imagine the models rolling up to your Star Tours table. What are these, star speeders for ants?
Yeah.
The scale doesn't feel too bad, though.
It's not too bad.
Like, you can use a lot of Legion terrain, and as long as it's over that 3-inch threshold, the range 2 ruler, it's going to work well in the game.
Yeah, so with the Star Tours table, the little landing platform I use that was printed from the Corvus set is exactly range 2 height. So we just called it like over range 2.
Oh, okay.
And the star speeders themselves, though, are not. So we said we made it a gentleman's agreement when we played. I'm like, yeah, we'll just count it as a higher terrain level. Because
wait, you discussed terrain with your opponent ahead of time? What?
Yes. That is one of the habits from Legion I actually did bring over.
It's a good
there
one.
Were a couple other bad habits I brought over.
Like slapping your opponent in the face when you don't get your way.
Let's just say my first 3 defense rolls, I rolled the exact amount of dice as the offense roll had results because I accidentally translated that from Legion.
Oh.
Because and it took me 3 defense rolls to go, hell. That's what I was doing.
Okay.
I think for me, the hardest thing to kind of get used to is the terminology. Coming from both Legion and MCP, sometimes I'm used to calling characters dazed as opposed to injured or wounded or damaged. So getting used to remembering those.
Or a thesaurus.
Right.
Yeah, I'm seriously considering printing out one of the cheat sheets I've seen floating around online. Outsider Dan did have his own cheat sheet printed, which was just
of course text, he did,
but it worked. It worked so well.
Borrowing models and cheat sheets; those are 2 things I know we can get a reco to do.
Yeah.
Okay, so a couple of games in. Any weird interactions with rules that you saw that made you go, let's look this up? Or any awesome things that you noticed during your games?
So I think for me, the order of operations, I mean, that's always one of those things that you kind of have to wrap your head around. When do rerolls happen? When do, dice alterations, things like that.
Because it matters on the timing.
It does, definitely, especially when you start adding in the expertise table or the expertise tree, because then you're adding in, additional things that happen before the damage pool gets assessed. And so that's been a journey. I think a lot of newer players have been able to grasp it, but I think some people coming over from MCP, there's a little bit of a learning curve. I would say that the other one that took me a while, at least, was the cover or line of sight rules. Because it's kind of a hybrid between like a true line of sight and a 2D with MCP. And when we had the discussion with Will, he explained it to us, and I kind of got it. And it took me getting my hands on the models, putting some terrain out there to actually visualize it myself.
Yeah,
but it started making sense.
Yeah, eventually you need to get hands on. Go ahead, Dan.
I had the exact same situation. Was every time I needed to check rules, it was timing or order of operations. Just having those other game systems in your head really mixes things up.
It's going to take a little while to get separate neural pathways burned for the separate rule sets.
Well, and then when you add in like the things that happen at the end of the turn too, and remembering, okay, like just because it's the end of the round, we don't just reset the cards or your force points and things like that. I think that also is something that's kind of a brand new mechanic.
Yeah, that and focus. We're honestly the trick that we started, at least I started doing, and Outsider Dan started doing. When we said focus, we would put a die next to the model on the board just to remember to roll that extra die. Just because with some of the triggered events, like 6 more things will happen in between there in the attack.
Is that illegal?
So we were both saying like, God, we just got to dip into our old X-Wing collection and pull some focus tokens out. I'm actually surprised they didn't make a token of some kind.
There you go. I bet Dan's got, or John, I think you've got a full bag of tokens down there somewhere, right?
I do, yeah. I mean, I'm surprised that AMG didn't use this opportunity to throw in an additional token, but
because
how much cardboard will eventually satisfy you?
I could kind of see the logic that you're only going to be using that focus on that turn, because focus then attack, so you don't really need to put down a token. But the way I was reading the rules, and I may have to have a rules lawyer double check this, so Jeff, if you're listening, it says
Jeff better be listening.
So could you bank a focus? Like focus is one of your actions, and then use it as one of those out of turn, like 5 dice activation, or activated by someone else 5 dice attacks. Like I'm curious to see if there's some weird things you could do with focus.
I think it has to happen within that activation.
Okay.
Do have to reread that and get some lawyers on that.
Well, John already made his ruling, so Head Judge John
Counselor!
Says, "Counselor."
The one thing that I think I was surprised by going into the number of games I played was just how important force points are. Because initially we were just playing one struggle, and I think it was rare we'd ever go through the entire deck. It seemed like force points weren't really at a premium. You can just start throwing them around, but like once you start getting characters injured, and you're having to spend more force points, it really adds up quick.
Dan made big knowing eyes when you mentioned that. Do you have an experience with that?
Well, actually, it was funny because speaking of the deck, I only ended up going through, with both of my games, going full all 3 struggles, about 1.5 times through the deck. So I had a couple characters that didn't even activate twice.
Oh, wow. Wow.
So, yeah.
Is that in a 2-struggle game?
In a 3-struggle game.
Oh, wow.
So I don't know if we were just, it was just one-sided and one side was just landsliding, or...
was it?
I don't know. I won one. I lost the second one. In both games, I lost the first, won the second, and then I either won or lost the third one for the win or the loss total overall. But yeah, I had the same amount of deck usage in both games. It was literally like 1.5 times through the deck. Of course, we all did get our shiny foil.
Got an extra one?
Yeah.
Come on.
You can have my
shiny. No.
I don't collect the shiny stuff, so I'll give you mine.
Oh, come on. Okay, thank you.
But yeah, I'm surprised we didn't go through the deck as much as it did, and I found that I was using most of my force with clones to do that defensive maneuver ability, just to have them have the extra little bit of movement, because I found that they just felt, at least compared to other games like Legion, where I know I'm getting at least 12 activations or 12 actions out of 6 activations. I really didn't feel like I was able to move my people as much, and I'm thinking okay, I got to get it's the next struggle. Things have shifted. I got to get a guy way the heck over there. I draw it, and it's my person who's on the other side of the board, and I'm like, well, crap, I'm not going to be able to get over there and get it this turn, and my opponent's going to score extra on that. So.
Yeah, one thing to echo with that, like, there's really, like, right off the gate, it's high stakes. With Legion, there are so many games where my first activation would be move, take a dodge, move, take a dodge,
or just
take a dodge. Yeah, because you knew this game was going to last a while, and there's no reason for me to just try to jump out to a lead. Getting out to grab 2 objective points that first turn. Well, second turn if you, but like it makes a huge difference. Like, you really need to start getting that pendulum swinging in your direction, or else you can find yourself pretty far behind the 8 ball.
Much more higher tempo game, it sounds like.
Yeah, definitely. Now the last game I just played with Dave, that game went all 3 struggles, and we actually went through the whole deck 3 times.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah, and it was that first struggle. I think our game lasted about 4 hours. I think that first struggle was 2 hours. Now, granted, we're both still new. We're still wrapping our head around the mechanics. We're still,
Sure.
joking around.
There's a lot
of
socializing and chatting during all the games there. Everyone's like, oh, hey.
Sure. Exactly.
So, this wasn't a focused, tournament game.
No.
People wandering up, is that a Star Wars you're doing?
So, it took us a while, but even still, with playing through the deck 3 times, it really felt like every activation was at a premium. You needed to make sure you got the most mileage out of that character. One other takeaway that I have really, really noticed the last couple full games I played was, as much as you think you're doing damage to people, it's very rare to take a model off the board. I think the most, in all the games I played, the most models I've seen taken off the board were 2 units.
Were they just like chud droids or something, or were they?
The last game I played, there was a unit of Magna Guards that came off, and then a unit of 212 clones.
So supports.
Yeah. But the thing you got to remember is you're going to pretty much guarantee to get at least 2 activations because of how it works with, for them to be able to shoot you, you pretty much have to activate to get yourself out into the midfield to be a target. And then even if they wound you in that turn, okay, well, the next turn you become injured, and then you can go about your actions. And then even if they wound you again, okay, well, then you're still going to get that last activation. So most units are going to stick around at least until your 3rd time through the deck.
Yeah, and I had that on my first game where both my opponent's B1s and one of my clone squad supports, it was the 501st if I remember correctly, both had the lethal wound on them, but we hadn't gone around the deck enough times for them to reactivate and actually be taken off the board. So honestly, we were both using them literally to take up space on the upper level of a gantry where the objective was, just so that we couldn't, both of us, move other units in to actually claim it. So we were just using them literally as dead weight blockers.
Well, and by the time you actually have a unit that gets pulled off the board, you're already in the second or third struggle. And so far, for the struggles we've seen, there's only 3 objective out there. And I'll tell you what, if I'm running Maul and Dooku, and you pull my B1s off the board, that's all right. There's just a higher probability of getting Maul and Dooku again.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good point. Interesting.
So as much as I love playing characters like Anakin and Maul and just characters who just like to run up the board and beat face, that might not be the best tactic in this game.
You stop.
Which is funny because I was using my Shatterpoint card every time it came up on Rex, specifically because he can order another person to move.
Sure.
I was using him purely just, okay, now I get another activation of move someone else, just because I found that there is not as much mobility in this game as I initially thought there was.
I was going to say, it sounds like mobility is really at a premium, as well as the force points later on. But how much of securing your objectives was, obviously you got to fight people around it, but staying mobile and being able to reach out and grab the stuff, was that kind of a big part of it too?
Yeah, staying mobile, that's definitely an important part of it. With your ability to, you don't have to be on the objective the whole time. You can secure a backfield objective and then move upfield, as long as, at no point does your opponent have more characters within range 2. Range 2 is a big radius too. Mm-hmm. In MCP, you're looking at range 1 for most of the objectives. Range 2, it gives you a pretty wide berth to be able to get characters in. So with the almost every character in the game has some sort of movement shenanigans, whether it's defensive maneuver, force jump, force speed, those kind of things.
Hello there.
Yeah, hello there, exactly. There's so many ways for characters to get across the board quickly. You'd be surprised at how fast somebody can close that gap to get to an objective or to get into engagement range.
Yeah. Speaking of back caps, in my second game, he had left his back, because we were on third struggle where it's kind of that V formation.
Mm-hmm.
And he had left that his back cap completely open, and I just force sped Ahsoka force speed, and then just got him barely in range of it and tagged that back one.
Woo!
And then he ran Maul over there, and Maul has the ability to throw someone and just ripped Ahsoka off the point, retook it, and yeah, movement and being able to move your opponent's characters is a really big thing, and that's I found that Ahsoka and Obi-Wan with clones can move themselves, but don't really have any way to move their opponent's stuff. So
yeah, and then you got a guy like Django who that's his whole bag.
Oh yeah,
he's got the range 3, get over here. So yeah, it's just like in MCP, they kind of break characters down, whether they're damage pieces or control pieces. Well, in this game, it's very much the same thing. You want to make sure that you've got enough control pieces out there where not only can you get yourself up the board, but make your opponent move when they don't want to.
Okay. Well, let's do it.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, go ahead, Dan.
I was going to say, honestly, I think the control pieces are more powerful than damage pieces in this game. Just the way the wound and injured system works. Like, you're not removing pieces. Yes, you're making them not count towards objectives, but I think moving them off the objective is just as effective as shooting them and making them not count.
Okay, well, let's explore this a little bit further. Of the characters that are out there right now, which ones would you consider kind of the clutch control pieces?
Oh, Django, right off the bat. His ability to do that kind of stuff is incredible. Dooku has some good stuff on his damage tree that allows him to push people and stuff. Dan, what do you got?
What was it? Maul has that there's no place to run, which I got smacked with pretty hard. Any character with force push. I'm thinking a lot of the Jedi force push, force pull.
Okay, I was going to say it was sounding like a lot of dark side characters there so far.
Yeah, because
so light side kind of help your dudes out, get them moving fast, and then dark side pulling them back away from the places they get.
Yeah, and from the one we've seen, and granted, this is based off of 3 primaries, and from each side, so we haven't seen the breadth of all the characters yet. But of the 3 primaries that we've got for the light side, I mean, Ahsoka is very much a defensive piece. Is fast, can get around, but like having deflect and having the fierce protector is huge. Anakin, he's a beat stick. He can take some damage, but not a lot as far as control is concerned. And then Obi-Wan is really just like a synergy piece. He's the guy that makes everyone else better, but not a whole lot as far as like movement control.
Okay,
because Asajj has force push, Maul has essentially a pull, and Jango has his little capture wire. Okay. And that's all the currently released. Now, of course, in the upcoming stuff, we'll have a lot more.
Yeah. Well, like John said, we haven't seen the whole, panoply, the lineup of characters, but we do have some previews on a couple. So we're going to take a short break and we're going to come back and look at those. Be right back, guys.
Ending the transmission now would be most unfortunate. And now, the Outriders.
Welcome back, Outriders. Matt, Dan, and John here with you. And we've got a bunch of other characters. We've got some info on that are going to be coming to a Shatterpoint table near you. Starting out with the Vader combo box set.
Yes, you cannot run box set. There's been a bit of, how should I say, I wouldn't call it controversy, but concerned chatter about the quality of these pieces that are in this box versus the price point.
Okay.
There was a bit of a discussion in our local area group just today about having to put down for $90 because both of these characters that come in this box, they are spicy.
Yeah.
Well, let's be honest. Like Darth Vader is probably the most popular character in Star Wars, and if you're going to put him behind a $90-$100 paywall.
I was going to say, this sounds like pay to win, just classic,
Well, I mean, to be fair, and he will eventually come out in a separate box with the Stormtroopers. But I mean, the timing on this is a little like...
We don't have patience, Dan. Let's be real here.
Yeah. What, gamers want instant gratification? You stop. Yes. All right. We also have the Grand Inquisitor, Reva, fourth sister, and fifth brother. Those info. But let's go ahead and start out with Obi-Dobi Kenobi.
Obi-Wan. Yes. I'm waiting for the 3D modelers to come out with the sombrero and poncho version.
I'm really excited for this pack. I was one of the people who was initially kind of on the fence about whether I was going to get it, but looking at the rules and the stuff that they bring to the table, I'm really excited for it. Obi-Wan, I mean, first of all, he's a secondary character, so you can run him and Anakin in the same squad if you want. He's got some really cool mechanics. Talk about a character who's got the ability to get across the board quickly. Wow.
Yeah.
Do you want me to go through his card, or?
Yeah. Let's go do that. Let's take a look.
Cool. So he is a secondary character, like I said. He is 4 character points. So if you're running him with Anakin, you're only getting 3 squad points to use for those 501st, probably. If you're bringing him with a character like Luminara, then you'll have another 4 points to spend for your support. But he's got 8 stamina, which is a little low, but for a secondary, it's okay. 2 durability. He is a Force user and a Jedi and can be used in both Clone Wars and Galactic Civil War eras. So that'll be great. Everything we've seen so far is either one or the other, so he can be used with anything. For abilities, he's got Run at the start of the turn's unit's activation. Choose a unit in this character in this unit or another allied character that is engaged with an enemy character. The chosen character may heal and reposition. So that's huge. And that doesn't cost any force points or anything like that. That's just right off the bat, someone can do a reposition and a heal. His reactive ability of Mind Trick costs 2 force points. When an allied character within range 3 is targeted by an attack, this unit may use this ability. The attack ends. If it is the attacker's activation, it may make another attack targeting a different character. If it does, remove 2 dice from the attack roll. Oh.
What's up, Dan?
So I didn't want to interrupt you there, but jumping back to Run for a second.
Yeah.
So at the start of this unit's activation, choose a character in this unit, choose Obi-Wan, or another allied character that is engaged. So I'm just curious, does Obi-Wan not have to be engaged to use this?
Based on what I'm reading, no.
Yeah. So yeah, getting up the board, just activating him, he repositions. That's a free move.
Yep.
That's super mobile. So
yeah, we may have to get some clarification on that, but from what I understand, I think that's no, it just has to be another character that's engaged.
Okay, what was the name of this pack again?
You cannot run.
Oh, huh. Okay. Interesting. All right. Mind Trick sounds pretty freaking awesome, though, too. I didn't process that he's a secondary character.
Yeah.
You know, looking at the cards now, is that seems so you're paying for this nice diorama piece, centerpiece kind of model setup, and it's a secondary character. Fun.
Well, what's kind of hilariously ironic is because he's secondary, you could run Vader with this Obi-Wan as your secondary.
That's true.
I mean, it's legal.
In an alternate universe, let's just have Darth Maul and Kenobi just, you know, having fun, romping across.
Actually, yeah, it could be a secondary to Maul as well.
Kenobi, get over here. Where's my coffee, man? What's going on?
But yeah, I mean, the mind trick, despite being 2 force points, I mean, that's got a lot of use. I mean, you can shut down a character's reactive attack. You can, you know, because that basically only allows you to redirect the attack if it's their turn. And even if it is their turn, you know, say they choose, you know, he's the only character within range, or, you know, that character is the only character that's within range, well, then you just ended that attack.
Okay. So a couple more abilities on the card there. We've got Greater Purpose. What's that all about?
Yep. Unit has immunity to expose. So if this unit would gain expose, it can heal instead.
Which is going to be huge when we get to, we talk about the Inquisitor pack.
Ooh.
Yes.
And then last ability, Last Stand of the Jedi. For each injured token this unit has, characters in this unit add 2 dice to the attack and defense roll, which is kind of similar to what Maul has. You know, he's only got 2 stamina, or I'm sorry, 2 durability. So at most, he's going to be throwing 2 dice in attack and defense before he dies. But still, you know, it's spicy.
Very nice.
So some sort of self-damaging Maul Obi-Wan, if there was a way to do self-damage, or just run Maul and Obi-Wan up and
just give it some time.
Yeah.
So, gotta get the Kylo Ren chest beating synergy with Obi-Wan there.
So looking at his stances, stance, not stances, because again, he is a secondary, so he only has 1 stance. Obviously, yeah. He's obviously not quite as much of a beat stick as his, you know, his primary self. He's only throwing 6 dice in melee, no ranged attack, and then 5 defense dice for both ranged and melee.
He could go up to 8 if he's wounded.
Oh, true.
Or injured, sorry.
Yeah. But you look at his damage tree, and he caps out at 4 successes. So now on those successes, he can do some work. I think the maximum he can do for damage, it looks like 7. So I mean, that's nothing to shrug your shoulders at.
It's still a lightsaber at the end of the day.
Yeah. You know, he's got the options on the same stance. So like, whereas like with your primary characters, you usually has like one side that's a little bit more offensive, one's a little more defensive. This gives you the flexibility on the same stance. So if you don't want to go the high damage route, you've got one that allows you to get 3 heals, 5 damage, a push, and a force jump. So I mean, that's pretty good. You got another one that gives you 4 heals and a reposition with that. So there is that built-in flexibility on your only stance, which is nice.
Very cool. I have had a vision of the future, and I would like to share it with you. Always murky. The future is always moving. But I think that we'll get an old man Ben at some point, and he will just be a support piece. Because we've seen the primary, the secondary, and then support.
That would make sense.
And it would be about him running out there and dying and giving everybody buffs. But
and if they do some sort of alternate game mode or homebrew rule where you don't have uniqueness, that'd be hilarious. The Obi squad.
Troy Obi. Okay, anyways. Okay, let's go on to the next one. Oh, man. I love the art on this one. Okay, we've got Darth Vader, Jedi Hunter. And, man, that looks cool. Damn it.
Yeah, he looks great. So he's got 7 squad points, so same as Anakin, 4 force, and then he's a primary unit, obviously. Stamina 12. So I think that's the most we've seen so far.
Other than I think Grievous was also 12.
Okay,
I don't have it in front of me.
You must have robot legs and arms, and
no, sorry, Grievous was 11. Never mind.
Oh. Yeah, so he's bringing 12 stamina and 3 durability, so that's the most tank we've seen so far.
He is not being removed from the board.
No. For tags, this is kind of cool. So it's got both Force User, Galactic Empire, Galactic Republic, Inquisitorius, and Sith. Which
those are some interesting tags.
Really interesting, yeah. So I mean, some of the characters that do a lot of synergy. Rex, for example, does a lot of stuff with the Galactic Republic keyword. Well, guess what? Vader's Galactic Republic.
And Inquisitorius keyword. That one I could see Galactic Republic. Was surprised at seeing the Inquisitorius keyword.
I would imagine that this is going to be a much different Vader than what we see in the Stormtrooper pack coming later on. I'm assuming that was going to be a primary unit as well. So I'm sure they had to find some ways to differentiate them with tags and keywords. So, I mean, cool.
Very nice. Yeah. All right. Let's see. So he's set for the Clone Wars Galactic Civil War era. Okay. Makes sense. Otherwise, I think he'd just be kind of like a, blasted helmet. It's all charcoaly and whatnot for later on.
Whenever they get around the sequel trilogy era.
Yeah. Okay. So Dan, why don't you take us through Mr. Empire?
He is very, very furious. He's got Vader's Fury, cost a force point. This is an activated ability. Each character in this unit may dash. During the next attack made by this character during its activation, after dice have been rolled and modified, add 2 more damage to the damage pool. So, just that extra damage, yep. Reactive ability of Repose. After a melee attack targeting this character in this unit is resolved, the unit may use this ability. If the attack roll contains 1 or more fails, the attacking unit suffers 2 more damage. So this is similar to a lot of the deflect type abilities that we've seen in the currently released characters. But instead of melee, instead of range, it's kind of a melee deflect.
Yeah, the same mechanic that Asajj has as well.
Okay, yeah.
After that, we got the Sith Lord Strikes Back. That's a reactive ability. When the unit is wounded by an attack, after the attack is resolved, it can use this ability. 1 character in this unit may immediately dash and make a 5 dice melee attack targeting the character that wounds it. Spicy.
Yeah.
Stop hitting yourself.
It feels like it's going to punish you for trying to get in and stand toe-to-toe with Lord Vader here.
He's going to be a big beat stick that you actually don't want to hit, which is kind of interesting.
No, not at all.
I think it's going to be, and I feel like this is very appropriate. It's going to be people running around from Vader, because not only does he punish you for attacking him, he's also got so much health that it was like, what are you going to do? You're not going to stop him, so that's to try and play around him.
The last ability, Your Hatred Makes You Powerful. When an allied character makes a melee attack as part of a combat action, after choosing a target, the attacking unit may suffer 2 damage. If it does, the attacker adds 3 dice to the attack pool.
There's your self-damage right there.
Yep. And, Maul's smiling. Has a big smile on that one.
Yeah, so Maul Vader in a, with Obi-Wan as a secondary to one of the 2 in the list. That's the one thing that's been annoying me as far as trying to list build with him is those 7 squad points, though, because I want so many things to go with him, and just trying to wedge that extra point down. It's like you until they make a secondary that's 3 points, you're really stuck with either 501st, B1s, or Magna Guards. That they have to be in the list.
I think that's one thing that's going to be interesting as we get more and more characters in this is going to be the granularity in building the squads.
Yeah, very true. Okay, so primary, we got he remembers both stances, unlike
Obi-Wan.
The Obi-Wan, yeah. All right, so we got the Form 5 Jim So and Dark Rage. Dark Rage, yeah. There we go. Looks like we've got a little bit more flexibility on the first one. What do we got in there in the tree?
Yeah, so with Form 5 Dim, so that's definitely his defensive stance. It's also the only stance he gets a range attack, which is nothing to scoff at. It's range 4, 7 dice. And his melee attack is 6 dice. He's got 6 defense on each side, and his expertise tree for a defense on that is pretty good. On both sides, really. But yeah, with his Demso stance, he's only throwing 5 successes on there. Now, granted, he can do a lot with those 5. Looks like max out damage. He's got 9, which will KO about half the primaries in the game. He's got some statuses in there as well. But like I said, caps out at 5. But
that is the first time we've seen that last box in the center there. That is the climb.
Is that what that is? Okay.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, we've seen jumps, we've seen other things in movement things in here. Climb. First time we've seen that in a. So you have to be really specifically placed for that to work out.
Well, that's interesting because he's going to have to. I mean, it comes after 2 shoves, which is important because you can't take a climb action if you're still engaged. So we'll see how that plays out. But like I said, it comes after 2 shoves. Plus, that also has the range attack, so he can use that range attack and then make a climbed action as long as he's out of engagement.
Okay. And then what do we got? Dark Rage looks like a lot of damage.
This is a
lot.
I'm in range because I think you'll be using the Gemso on the approach, definitely with him.
Yeah.
But once you're in there, switching over to Dark Rage, 7 dice in melee, 5 defense. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can go up to 6 steps.
Yep.
And I'm just trying to calculate which one is the most damaging.
Looks like he caps out at 8 either way.
I think the bottom one's 9.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, 9.
Oh, you're right. 9. Sorry. He caps out at 9.
Nice.
But he's throwing some more.
Shoves.
Yeah, up to 3 shoves. He's got a strained in there. His expertise tree though. So he's got from 1 expertise, he can get 2 critical hits. He's basically just throwing critical hits in there. Which that's one thing that I guess I didn't quite expect to have as much impact on the game as it is. Like there's really a lot of differentiation when you get into how good somebody's expertise table is. And that's both offensive and defensive.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at some characters and they have, very little for expertise, and that really affects on what their actual maximum damage output would be.
Okay. Well, let's go ahead and move on further down the Inquisitorial line, or into the Inquisitorial line. I think Dan is trying to make that distinction that Vader was not. To Captain Fivehead, I believe is his name.
Well, depending on which head you're going to model him with, because he'll come with 2 different head options.
Okay.
I don't know if you guys saw that on the back of the box.
No, I didn't see that. What's the other head option?
There will be a Rebels animated style head, and then there will be a Kenobi live action style head.
Oh, that's cool.
Option on there.
All right. But we have the Grand Inquisitor, Fallen Jedi. And this is another primary unit. Dan, I think it's your turn.
Yep. So 8 squad points, brings 3 force to the table, which is standard as we've seen. 9 stamina with 3 durability. He is tagged as Force User, Galactic Empire, and Inquisitorius. So no Galactic Republic on these guys. So,
makes sense.
Yeah. Though they are dual era, so they could be used with Clone Wars units or Galactic Civil War units.
Okay.
His activate ability, or when on draw ability, you know who we are. It's like, don't you know who I am?
Karen mode activated.
Yes.
Effective when trying to get restaurant reservations.
At the start of this unit's activation, choose an Allied Inquisitorius secondary character or Allied Inquisitorius supporting character. So anyone lower rank than him, which is everyone else that we're going to go over in a minute. One character in this unit and in the chosen character may dash. So he's moving, and the other person you chose is moving. So that's actually some pretty good mobility there.
Yeah, just on draw too. So yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, but so that's something that's not going to cost you an extra force point in case you get injured.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
His next ability is Secrets Uncovered for 2 force. Choose an active objective within range 5 that is controlled by the opposing player. Remove that opposing player's control token from the objective. What? Now it's expensive at 2 force, but just going, no, you don't control that anymore.
I talked to the Force, and the Force said no.
Yeah, that's going to be a crazy control piece.
Yeah, that's one of the strongest control abilities I think we've seen so far. I mean, you have the ability to really single-handedly affect 2 objective points in 1 turn.
And if you're pushing, like if you're tied on that particular objective, well, does it still switch over to? No, it wouldn't switch over to you because you wouldn't be ahead of when you go to the scoring phase.
Well, no, but they wouldn't control it anymore though.
They wouldn't control anymore. Yeah. So if you're got a pushed objective, you can just make it neutral, and your opponent wouldn't be able to do anything with that anymore. So that is just really powerful.
Okay.
He's got a reactive ability called the Temple. The Temple Records are quite complete. It's 1 force point. When the character in this unit is targeted with a melee attack by an enemy force user character, this unit may use this ability. This unit may flip its stance card, and the defender adds 2 dice to its defense roll. So that's pretty good. It's in case you find yourself flipped to the wrong side and you didn't want to be on. Well, this allows you to actually go back to your defensive side, and you got 2 dice in addition to your defense roll. So it's pretty good. And since half the characters in this game so far are force users, that's a pretty wide.
And most of the primaries are pretty much all.
Yeah.
Then his last ability, Clearly You Are a Poor Student. When an allied Inquisitorius character wounds an enemy unit, after this effect is resolved, 1 allied Inquisitorius character may heal 2. Then, if the wounded unit was a force user, refresh 2 force. So,
wow. All right.
God, it just seems really tailor-made to have Vader as your running mate.
Yeah.
That would be quite the combo. All right. How about his stances? What do we got?
So on his Form 2 Makashi side, he is throwing 5 dice at range 4 for ranged. He's got 7 dice melee, and then he's got 5 defensive dice on both ranged and melee. He has a damage tree that goes out to 5 successes. Pretty good damage output on this one. He's got up to 8, it looks like.
6 successes.
That's right.
Up to 10 damage.
Oh yeah, you're right. 6. My bad. And 10 damage. Wow.
It's a weird layout where it goes to the right and then vertical.
Yep. And he's got one side of it gives him a little bit more mobility with a force jump. He can choose between an exposed or a strain token, a pin, and a dash in there as well. So a little bit of everything. He's got a pretty good expertise tree for the melee attack with critical and a damage at every stage. So that's pretty nice. Seems to be the more aggressive one of the 2 stances. His other stance, the Form V DMSO, is a little bit more defensive. He's got a range attack with 4 dice and a melee attack with 6 dice, but 6 defense dice on both of those. And his defense expertise is really nice. It allows him to convert criticals into strikes. And then as you get more expertise, it actually allows you to convert those criticals directly to failures.
Yeah, this defensive expertise tree on this side is just crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, I was enjoying with our games earlier in the weekend that Obi-Wan would be flipping, crits to fails. But this just dumps multiple crits to hits and then crits to strikes and crits to fails. It's
well, if you're getting 3 or 4, you're getting 1 critical to a strike and then another critical directly to a fail.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's very good.
Yeah.
But as far as his damage tree is concerned, goes up to 6 successes. Once again, this one does a little bit less damage. I think it caps out at 7.
Yeah, it doesn't matter which path you take; it's 7 either way.
Yeah, but I mean, he's got some repositions in there, and it ends with a force ability, which would be secrets uncovered. So it allows you to do it for free.
So if you can get to do that for free, you do have to get 6 successes on 6 dice.
Yeah, it's tough, but if you can do it,
yeah.
Okay. Well, let's go and start looking at some of the units the Grand Inquisitor might be working with, and look at the third sister, aka Riva.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to the eventual next Inquisitor pack that has, Second Sister and the Inquisitors from Fallen Order.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But Riva actually is pretty powerful. Any opinions about her portrayal in the Obi-Wan series aside, this character is actually really, really good. 4 squad points, doesn't bring any force because it's secondary, 8 stamina, 2 durability, which is pretty average for most secondaries out there. First ability is Call the Hunt, costs a force. Choose an allied Inquisitive supporting character. So I'm seeing a trend here where all they're targeting is targeting the lower rank below them. But choose an allied Inquisitorius supporting character within range 4. Chosen character may dash or may make a 5 dice attack.
Yeah, I love that flexibility.
Yeah. Second activated ability is a force jump. Each character in this unit may jump. We've seen that quite a bit, but that extra mobility, especially when you don't have ingress points. We didn't talk about it much on the tables, but yeah, the tables I played on didn't have a lot of ingress points, so it had a lot of fun.
It makes a huge difference.
It makes a huge difference.
Not only does it allow you to get up and down the elevations, but it actually adds quite a bit to your movement.
Yeah.
Yeah, so then she's got a reactive ability of Deflect, which we've seen with Anakin and Ahsoka, and also another one with Your Fear Betrays You. Now, this one costs a force point, and when this character is making a melee attack as part of a combat action, before dice are rolled, it may use this ability, remove 1 or more conditions from the defender, add 2 dice to the attack roll for each condition that was removed.
Ooh. And with the ability of stacking conditions that a lot of these characters and other characters in the game show.
Mm-hmm.
Like I commonly have seen characters with 2, 3 conditions at a time.
Oh, well, yeah. Once we get to the supporting characters that she can bring with her, there is going to be some synergy with that.
Okay. Then we move down to the stance. She's got the Form 2 Makashi, and still a lightsaber.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, 5 steps, 7 dice. So she can get decent into it. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 7 damage potential. With 2 shoves and a jump in there.
Yeah, and she's throwing.
I'm sorry, 3 shoves.
Yeah, she's also throwing 7 dice on her, on her attack. She's got a pretty good expertise tree, where it's adding both successes or strikes and damage on every single level.
Okay.
Yeah, so I know in games played this recently, I've noticed that shoves, because it's not just you're moving your opponent's character, you then have the option to move speed 1 towards that character as well. So don't underestimate the mobility that shoves actually add your own characters to move towards things you like.
Oh yeah, and having multiple shoves is huge too, especially if you're playing against clones, because a lot of them bring steadfast.
Mm-hmm.
So your ability to, okay, fine, you can ignore my first shove, but what about second shove?
All right, moving on down the waterfall of Inquisitors. We've got the fourth sister.
You know what I'm actually seeing lacking of all these Inquisitor cards?
What's that?
Some sort of in-game representation of the helicopter lightsaber.
I think fourth sister here is setting it up and just getting ready to whappity her way.
No, not the just spinning and hitting people. I'm talking about the flying.
No, absolutely. She's getting ready to take off. And
Dan just wants to Mary Poppins his way across the table.
That's what I was talking earlier. We need more mobility.
To be fair, we all do.
Yes.
Okay, and so we got a support unit here. Take it away, Dan.
So yeah, fourth sister, 4 squad points, 8 stamina to durability, which is again pretty average. Do get force jump. So one force point can jump. Force pull as well.
Mm.
And here's where the interesting stuff gets, and we'll see this on Fifth Brother as well. Enfeeble as pinned. So there was some confusion in our local group about this. People thinking that you have to gain a pin to do this, but no, this is like the clone fire supports, where you're imparting this token on someone else. But when a character in another allied Inquisitorius makes an attack as part of a combat action, 4 dice are rolled. You can use this ability. If the target is within range 4 of this character, the target unit gains pinned. So it's essentially just like the clone fire support, but for another Inquisitorius unit.
Okay. And then some sort of mandate.
So yeah, Inquisitorial mandate. This is something that's going to be across most of the Inquisitors here. When determining, with the support characters at least, when determining control of an active objective that a character in this unit is contesting, if there's a tie, this unit's controlling player takes control of that objective. So that's awesome. That's, having that ability to take a tiebreaker like that, especially when you're, if you're running this. We didn't really talk about this before, but when you're running this team, the squad, you have to choose which of the 2 supporting units you want. So you're only going to have 3 models in this squad. So there aren't going to be a lot of occasions where you're going to be able to outnumber people, but having the tiebreaker is just as good as outnumbering them.
Yeah. So this basically makes up for the fact that it's only a single model support as opposed to the dual model supports we've seen in everything so far.
Okay.
And then with Swift Retreat, when this unit is wounded by an enemy effect, after the effect is resolved, 1 character in this unit may reposition. So she brings a lot of control, whereas we'll see with the Third Brother, it's a lot more damage. She's the control piece. She's got the ability to, do the force pull. She has the ability to pin with Enfeeble, preventing movement, and then having this Swift Retreat when damaged. She's going to have the ability to basically lock down your opponent to wherever you want them to be.
Very cool. Let's quickly take a look at damage header stance card there. Another Form 2 Makashi.
Yeah, she's throwing 5 die or 5 successes, 7 dice in melee, no range, defense of 6 for range, 7 for melee. Her damage tree, like I said, 5 successes. It's got a decent amount of damage. The real key thing is her 4th success allows her to do one of her active abilities, whether it's force pull or force jump. So again, gives her even more mobility. And then that 5th slot is she's got 3 damage there. So you really want her to get to those 4th and 5th successes to really make make an impact.
Yeah, she can get up to 7 damage on that. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, and then last we have the Fifth Brother. That's right, another support unit.
Yeah, like I was saying with Fifth Brother, I mean, he really brings a lot of the same kind of mechanics that she does, except for his are more offensively based. So one of the coolest abilities we've seen so far, I think, is Force Repulse. So it's an active ability that costs 2 force points to use. Choose a character in this unit, push each character within range 2 of the chosen character, range 2 away from it. So a couple of key things, and I would have to see, some rulings on this, but push each other character within range 2 of the chosen character 2 away. That includes your own characters.
Yep. It does not say friendly or enemy characters. It is each character. So that's literally everything.
And you're controlling how far, in what direction away is. So, I mean, you could use this to spring your own units up the board if you wanted to.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bonus points if you say surf's up right before that happens. We're going full 80s Ninja Turtle on it. Come on.
I mean, it is a 2 force point ability, so it's not cheap. And you're going to be wanting to do a lot of stuff with these characters. So
jump onto a objective point though and push everyone away, and you've literally cleared everyone off the point except you, considering it has to be range 2. So you're definitely getting them farther.
Absolutely, it's
than the capture the contention range of an objective.
Yeah, I mean, for being a damage piece, it is a huge control mechanic. He's got a force jump ability as well. Enfeeble is his reactive ability, just like the other one, except for his Enfeeble gives exposed, which, I mean, for those who haven't played, exposed obviously is the one where you don't get any defensive expertise. for some characters, especially the primaries and especially the Jedis or Force user characters, those defensive expertise are huge. You know, the ability to cancel criticals or weaken them, or move yourself out of range. Eliminating those entirely can be huge, and he does it before dice are rolled. So
a lot spicier than Fourth Sisters in feeble action.
I mean, they both are allowed to do it before, but being able to do that exposed right before you roll the attack, I mean, it just magnifies
it directly affects the roll that's coming up, whereas Fourth Sister just putting a pin down there so the other opponent can't move. So
exactly,
yeah. This is a lot more instant gratification.
He has that inquisitorial mandate, just like the sister does. So he's got that tiebreaker ability. And then resolve. When a character in this unit is contesting one or more active objectives, it has protection and steadfast. That's massive. I mean, steadfast, like we talked about, it ignores that first push, and then protection reduces the damage he takes from or down by 1. And that's not to a minimum of 1. That's just reducing it by 1. So if you only take 1 damage, he's blocking it.
Nice. Yeah. So not only is he able to clear off objectives, he's going to stick around and hold them too.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Okay, and then down to look, a Form 2 Makashi.
Yeah, and his is very similar.
I'm actually looking at them side by side. They are identical.
Okay.
His trees are identical, with the exception of the very first starting point at the top is exposed, as opposed to. Oh, I'm sorry. Some of these conditions are separate. So it's exposed, then strain, as opposed to pin, then
disarm.
So flavored slightly differently for him.
Flavored slightly different, but the damage is the same. The activate ability is the same. 7 dice the same.
To me, the biggest difference is while they both have the active ability for the free active ability in the 4th slot, him being able to do the force repulse, so much better.
Yeah. Okay. No, it's just so much more value.
Yeah. Yeah. So he has kind of a reverse of the defensive abilities. He's got more defense for melee than range, which makes sense because he's going to want to get stuck up in the middle.
Okay.
Yeah. So for the Inquisitor squad you want to run, I'm thinking. I mean, just at first glance here, Fifth Brother is looking a lot more value than Fourth Sister in that support slot.
Yeah, I mean, unless you need a character that can move around a lot, and then in addition do control as well. You don't care as much about the damage part of it. I think Fifth Brother is the one to go with.
Cool. Like I mentioned earlier, we just need a secondary that's 3 points, so you can drop Force Sister alongside Vader. Doesn't even matter if there's no synergy. I just need that point cost to be able to slot in there.
Well, maybe someday, Dan, but not today. So a lot of bad guys coming down the pipe. I'm sure you're very excited, Dan. Poor Obi-Wan. Maybe he should go back and hide in his cave for a little while longer. Wait to see if his own shadow spooks him to go back and hide again. But anyways, guys, thank you everybody for coming along. That's going to wrap it up for today's episode. And thank you for listening. Please make sure to leave us a review on your podcast service of choice. And you can always contact us at legionoutriders@gmail.com or on facebook.com/legionoutriders. We do hope you'll join us again for the next episode. In the meantime, Dan, where can people find you?
Well, I'm out on the Discord as either DanTech or Outrider Dan. And I'm usually hanging out in some of your Twitch streams.
Yeah, some.
Yep.
But thank you. Yes, twitch.tv/captain_archer or on Discord as the same. John, how about you?
Well, if I'm not parading around with the Stanley Cup winning Golden Knights,
eating hot dogs out of it.
Of course. I am at Instagram at Outrider_John.
Awesome. All right. Thanks again, guys. And we'll catch you next episode. Take care.